Well, this really shouldn't be too much of a surprise. Welcome to a Notsam Wrestling emergency podcast in which John Cena has walked into Monday Night Raw to say goodbye to Boston and walked out the Intercontinental Champion. Yes, at the expense of Dominik Mysterio. We saw the match that I've been talking for weeks now about wanting to see, the match that I thought was essential for John Cena's retirement tour, the match that I wanted to even see, I told you, before the John Cena tournament. I said from the beginning, I did not want, ironically, that sound was John Cena LJN falling down. I told you that I did not want to see Dominik in the tournament because I wanted to see Dominik Mysterio face John Cena outside of the tournament. But they must have not heard the other part. I wanted Dominik Mysterio to win. I wanted Dominik Mysterio to beat John Cena. But this is my fault. Here's something that I forgot, right? I was so wrapped up in the Dominik Mysterio of it all that all I could think about was going to San Diego for Survivor Series. And all I could think about was the fact that we'll be in Dominik Mysterio's hometown. So Dominik Mysterio is going to get cheered. This is what happens to Dominik Mysterio. He gets cheered now. It wasn't happening before, but it is happening now, and he's going to get cheered in San Diego. This is just the way it works. However, I had forgotten that there is one place that Dominik Mysterio can still get booed. There is one place that regardless of the work that Dominik Mysterio is doing, they will still boo him. And that one place is in Boston, specifically on the night that John Cena arrives into the TD Center for the very last time as an active WWE competitor. So Triple H starts the show, and you know it's a big deal for Triple H to start the show. He has not been on camera very much at all recently, I don't think. You know, he's been in like the WrestleMania commercials or on the WrestleMania poster or whatever, but in terms of the day-to-day sort of wrestling product, he's not really a part of that narrative. He lets the GMs be the authority figures, and then that's kind of it, right? However, he starts Raw, and he talks about his unique perspective. Well, he starts talking about opinions that everybody has, the opinions that fans have, opinions that wrestlers in the back have, opinions that media has, opinions that he has, and the people running the business have. And everybody's got opinions, especially when you ask a question like, who is the greatest of all time? But then he talks about his unique perspective on the matter, and how he's one of the few, if not only, people who at the highest level have been a talent, a performer, a fan, a businessman, a promoter. I almost thought he was going to say booker. I was hoping for the first time we were going to hear the word booker on Monday Night Raw, except in reference to T. I thought we were actually, but he said promoter. I said, okay, we got that. That's close enough, I suppose. But he said, objectively speaking, from every measurable, John Cena is the greatest of all time. He called John Cena the greatest asset that the business has ever known. And he talked about all the different things that make a superstar. You know, from matches to promos to PR to everything. And he talked about the fact that nobody has loved this business the way John Cena has loved this business, because that is the only reason why John Cena has accomplished everything that John Cena has accomplished. It's for the love of the game. Not the game Triple H, but the game professional wrestling. And he says, I think that we can all agree that on this night, everyone here can agree on who the greatest of all time is. And he introduces John Cena. Triple H sitting there saying, this is, you know what I mean? Like, no gimmicks, no nothing. This is the greatest force that the business has known. And, I think realistically, when you're breaking it all down, I think there's a huge conversation to have over it. I think there are many arguments that could be made. You can go as far back as you want to. If you want to go to like the start in the 80s. Of course, you're going to talk about Hogan, Austin, Rock. You're going to talk about Andre the Giant. You're going to talk about The Undertaker. You're going to talk about Shawn Michaels. You're going to talk about Triple H. But when you talk about consistency, when you talk about bringing the business with him, when you talk about, everything that happens around the business, it's difficult to argue that John Cena is not that guy. So John Cena comes out and he's basically coming out to thank Boston. I mean, he does make the announcement, which was a big announcement that's kind of getting lost in everything, but he does make the announcement that Saturday night's main event, where he has his last match against whoever wins this tournament designed to give an opportunity, to use his status to give an opportunity, that show is going to continue to give opportunity, right? That it's not just going to be about Cena's last match and just doing Cena stuff all night long. Instead, he's going to use those eyeballs to put it on the right people, and there's going to be a series of exhibition matches on that night, and that Saturday night's main event is going to be made up of some of the top NXT talent facing some of the top main roster talent. So people can get this who only watch the main roster or who might only be tuning in to see John Cena, can get this look at what the future of the industry looks like. Because that's what John Cena's focus was, saying that he really had one goal and one goal only, and that was to leave the business in a better place than he found it. Make sure that as he left at the end of this year, the business is better than when he arrived in 2002. And just as he's kind of wrapping things up and saying, we were going to go everywhere. And I don't decide what cities we're going to. I don't decide what matches we make. I don't decide any of that. However, I said one thing: we have to do a show in Boston. And so here they are in Boston. This was the one thing that John Cena insisted upon. And as he's explaining why and saying thank you, here's that dastardly, dirty Dominik Mysterio's music. And I just loved it. And I was so happy when I heard that music. I was so happy that Dominik Mysterio was being used to ruin this moment. And man, I feel like we got old Dominik Mysterio back. You know what I mean? We got like old Dominik Mysterio in the sense that like he couldn't get out a sentence. He couldn't say a word because the crowd was so on the side of John Cena. And man, the crowd in Boston was on fire all night long. What a great crowd. 16,000 plus strong in Boston, there to see history, and they got history. Dominik Mysterio comes out and he says, "This ain't about you, John. This is about me." And he goes right to Triple H, and he's basically interrupting John Cena's goodbye to Boston because he's angry about the fact that Rey Mysterio interrupted his celebration last week, which is the most ludicrous, egotistical thing that a character could possibly do. Well, how would now be the proper time to address this? But he said, his line about, I don't get interrupted by old men. I interrupt old men's celebrations. And it's like, he's right there, Dom. He's right behind your back. John Cena is right next to you. And he starts he says, John interrupts him, and Dominik Mysterio says, let the grown folk talk while you sit in the corner. He says, I'll put you down. He says all this stuff. And John Cena becomes serious John Cena, and I love when he's serious John Cena. John Cena becomes serious John Cena, and he says, I'm invincible here. In any other city on any other night, you would have a shot. But here, I'm invincible. But I respect your father too much, so I'm going to let you walk off. And Dominik Mysterio points out that, look at you and look at me. I'm not even at my peak yet. And I'm still better than you ever were in your prime. I could beat you in any era, any place, any time, anywhere. And John Cena says, not here. He says but you picked the wrong guy in the wrong place at the wrong time. And Triple H says, well, wait just a minute right there. Dom, you said any era. I think this is a great era. You said any place. I think Boston's great. And it's a hell of a time, isn't it? And Boston is going nuts. And to me, this is one of those can you imagine if moments when you're sitting in the crowd. Can you imagine if? I think that the audience in Boston would have been perfectly happy to see John Cena have his do a promo. John Cena come out, and then maybe he's at ringside during the tournament matches. Maybe he has a little altercation with Rusev. Maybe he has a little handshake with Sheamus, whatever it is. I think people would have been fine with it. People would have just been happy to be there to see John Cena and to celebrate him. They certainly didn't think they were going to get a championship match because Triple H, he doesn't even say we're going to make it the main event. He does basically, it's similar to the scenario we got with Sami Zayn, which was great, which is I'm going to make a title match right now. John, pop your shirt off. It's time to wrestle. And John Cena says, yeah, sounds great. And during the commercial break, they do the introductions, and Dominik jumps him during the introduction. And we have a very sort of classic Dominik Mysterio match, a good guy versus bad guy match. This isn't John versus AJ Styles. This is a good guy versus bad guy television match. And Dominik Mysterio starts to go through all the dastardly tricks. He unties the turnbuckle pad, but really that's just to create a diversion where he goes and gets the chair. I thought he was going for the hammer, but he's going to get the chair. He throws the chair to John Cena and then lays down on the mat. He hits the mat with the chair, then throws it to John Cena, lays down on the mat. However, that's the Eddie Guerrero trick, right? And everybody's chanting, Eddie, Eddie. Who knows Eddie Guerrero better than John Cena? John Cena worked with Eddie Guerrero. John Cena had a rivalry with Eddie Guerrero. John Cena had a street fight with Eddie Guerrero in the early days for John Cena. On SmackDown, John Cena versus Eddie Guerrero it was a program. And so he knows this Eddie Guerrero trick, and John does, what you do to get out of it, which is he lays down as well, and the referee turns around. There's a chair in the middle of the ring. He's confused. There's no call to make there, and John Cena winks at Dominik Mysterio, and he gets upset. Referee ends up getting knocked out. John Cena locks the STF on Dominik Mysterio. Dominik starts tapping out, but Dominik taps out while the referee's out of the ring. So you could say, well, he tapped out, he would have lost the match. Or you go, well, he tapped out because he's smart. Because he wanted John Cena to release the hold. That's how I see the heel mentality of it. And he's able to, and then John Cena hits the AA. A referee comes running to the ring. Eddie slides in there. 1-2, kick out for Dominik Mysterio. While there's all this confusion, ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba. Dom then gets John Cena in the prone position, hits the 619, hits the frog splash. John Cena rolls through after Dominik's finisher, stands up, hoists Dominik up on his shoulders. AA, as soon as John Cena stood up and hoisted Dominik up, I said, oh my God, it's over. No way. 1, 2, 3. Tessitore makes the call. John Cena, for the first time, is the Intercontinental Champion. For the first time in his career with only 3 appearances left, John Cena has won the Intercontinental Championship. John Cena is a Grand Slam champion. I didn't think it was necessary for him to win. I still don't think it's necessary for him to win, but boy, did it make a magical moment in Boston. I can't imagine Dominik Mysterio's happy. I don't know where the hell the Judgment Day was. They didn't help whatsoever. But I don't know where this leaves Dominik. I mean, listen, there are a few things you could do. You're in the middle of the tournament. Obviously, you could have John Cena hold the Intercontinental title all the way till the end. And you can have him defend the Intercontinental title throughout. And so that last match now becomes John's last match, and it's for the Intercontinental title. And in that scenario, you could have somebody like Sheamus win the tournament. And then thus, not only is he getting his match with John Cena, but he's also getting that goal of winning the only title that he's never won. Or, if Gunther is going to win the tournament, which I still think that he should, Gunther gets the Intercontinental title match. Or you could throw Dominik in the tournament and have Dominik win the tournament and then win the Intercontinental title. That feels like a little bit too much of a hero's outcome for Dominik Mysterio. I don't love the idea of Dominik goes from having to lie, cheat, and steal to sneak his way through everything to now he wins a 16-man tournament and a rematch. Like, that feels like almost too much. Like, we got it. You like Dominik Mysterio. For me, I kind of think that I don't think, I'm interested because I didn't think we were going to be here tonight. I didn't think we were going to be having this conversation about John Cena as Intercontinental Champion tonight. I don't think that I want John Cena to walk into Saturday night's main event as Intercontinental Champion. I still think John Cena can lose before Saturday night's main event. I think he should lose the Intercontinental Championship. I think that the Intercontinental Championship, in a lot of cases, unless there is a story, unless it's like Sheamus or something like that, what I'd hate to see is the Intercontinental Championship become either sort of a secondary item to this John Cena last match or a distraction from the John Cena last match. I think it overcomplicates things for John Cena's last match. So I would like to see him lose it either in Madison Square Garden on Monday or at Survivor Series. And I don't know to whom. You know what I mean? Maybe John Cena brings back the Open Challenge. Although Ilya Dragunov is doing the Open Challenge, maybe Ilya Dragunov answers John Cena's Open Challenge. I mean, who do we have him now wrestling? He could wrestle at War Games, right? I mean, maybe the Vision cost John Cena the title on Monday Night Raw, and then he joins CM Punk's War Games match or War Games team for the War Games match at Survivor Series. I guess that's possible. I thought in the beginning that John Cena would be a shoo-in for War Games, but now as we have gotten closer, I'm kind of further away from that idea. But I'm going to be thinking about this a lot because there are kind of two things that you have to do, right? Dominik Mysterio has to be made right. Dominik Mysterio has to explain, and maybe this is the Judgment Day is kind of, mocking or whatever Dominik Mysterio for this loss, and that's how this loss becomes the reason that Dominik fights back against the Judgment Day and turns babyface. That's possible. Maybe somebody beats John Cena for the title and then Dominik has to beat them to get his Intercontinental title back. That's possible. I don't know. I'll be watching it all, but I think that tonight was a pure fan service moment. And I feel like so often you get these moments and you don't take them because you want to follow the logical train that you're on. And I think more often you just need to have these moments and then go from there. And we're in a spot now where people, I don't think for the most part, thought we would be in leading to John Cena's last 3 matches. And I think that that's a good thing. So I'm anxious to see. Let me know in the comments where you think this is going to go, how you think it went. I'm a Dominik Mysterio fan. I did not want Dominik to lose to John Cena tonight or any other night. I don't personally think that this segment could have gone any better. I thought this segment was perfect. I mean, I think it's going to be the last time we see Dominik as a full-fledged heel. And it only works because they were in John Cena's hometown and it was John Cena and he was so disrespectful and he did interrupt them. I think this is it. This was the last Dominik Mysterio as a heel thing that we're going to get. But man, it was great. And I thought Dom was great throughout the whole segment. I thought that Dom felt like he belonged. I thought Dom was sitting there with his chest out at Triple H and John Cena. I thought that everything that they say about Dom having this huge upside was on display. The subtle way his face moved from being so cocky and confident to when Triple H actually made the match feeling like a loss and out of control. And, oh my, what are you talking about? I didn't want this, without being cartoony. I thought it was really good. I'm interested to hear what you have to say. Leave it in the comments or leave it on the reviews for the podcast feed. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. Make sure you're subscribed to the podcast feed. And we'll see you real soon for more Not Sam Wrestling.